Hey, welcome in, everyone. This is Dan French, Wealthytainment. You guys know the channel. We have a great show and an article that I want to talk about today, and also an interview that came out with Patrick Bet-David. And we were going to talk a little bit about leadership, the difference between an alpha in life, not just in relationship or anything in life, versus somebody that's a flag carrier, right? Somebody always wants to be, or most people I think want to be the alpha, and then sometimes people don't really understand how to navigate or carve their way to becoming an alpha. And sometimes you're just you're a flag carrier, and we're going to talk about this here in a second. So anyways, if you guys like the information, please hit the like button, subscribe. Also, any comments that you guys want to put out, Chris and I will answer those questions. So Chris, what's going on, man? How are you?
How you doing, brother? Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I've been up since a little earlier. It already feels like the afternoon.
Yeah. So what have you been up to, man? I know you've been working. Anything new in your world?
No, just you and I getting this podcast going, focusing a lot on that. Lately, man, I went down the rabbit hole on desks. You knew about that, and man, it's with the marketing and all the options out there. You can get inundated with just information overload on different YouTube. I've been on YouTube myself, so I am a consumer of what it is that we're out here promoting. Anyhow, so going through that, and so I haven't pulled the trigger on a standing desk yet. However, for any of the listeners, if you have any recommendations, would love to hear what those are.
Well, man, I'll tell you, I bought equipment myself. It's not an easy task. I put together a studio before, and it was fun. It was one of those things where, you go online and you look around and you want to find the right type of equipment that'll suit everybody. And it's very difficult. And sometimes even with just a desk, it gets into a point where, man, am I getting the right desk? I mean, I think you know what you want, but you're spending, it's not like going out and spending a couple $100s. Sometimes these desks run up to $1,000. So it's probably more of a situation if you don't want to have to choose the wrong desk. It has to fit what your needs are. So there is a process to this, right, Chris?
Oh yeah, 100. Yeah, and that you hit it right on the nail. Is that what I've been finding in terms of, because buy it once, then you don't have to buy it twice. You know that saying. And so I definitely don't want to buy a desk just to kind of appease a short-term need. I'd rather spend a little bit more and get a desk that can last either the rest of the time, or if I do have to upgrade from there, it will be at least 5 to 7 years. I won't have to upgrade. So that's another angle that I'm also looking at too. I'm not just trying to buy anything in a sense.
So let's get into this topic, man. I want to talk about this article and this interview that I was reading about. Nice people finish last, but they also finish first. It's people that, are givers, or are people that would like to help people. In essence, they come in last. Now, there's also different layers of being an alpha or just running something like a job or something, let's say a corporation. And there's a difference in running your household, right? And so it goes in just different stages, if you want to call it. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a flag carrier. So what that means is that if you're, let's say, a number one, or you're somebody that is not the decision maker, but you're maybe right there, there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of people want to be an alpha, and I think it comes down to, is it leadership? But if you're talking about leadership versus becoming an alpha male, we're going to talk about that today. You have anything else to say about that, Chris?
No, we can get right into the topic, brother. I'm ready to talk about it. I mean, I think what happens is that if one, doesn't matter if it's a male or female, if they feel like there's a lot of pressure in whatever situation that they're in, that can cause stress, which we already know is at an all-time high today, and especially moving forward. People have responsibilities, bills, different stresses in your life, family, loved ones, people getting sick, people getting older. And so that can just add to the everyday stresses of life, right? And then responsibility. We'll just talk about men for a second, because that's the topic today. That can be an overload as well. And so learning how to take the reins and I think manage stress. Stress is okay, but just managing it is where if you mismanage it, it can cause a lot of problems for you. Or for
Let's
one,
go.
I should say.
Let's do this, Chris. I know you were talking about it. Let's listen to what Patrick Bet David had to say about this. We'll listen to what some of the problems that people run into, and then we're going to say, talk a little bit about what's going on as far as how people are remedying those problems or trying to fix those issues, and then ultimately we'll give our opinion and conclude what this show's about. So let's listen to what he has to say really quick.
For example, when you break down who you want to be in life, okay, I don't know if you're a sports guy or not, you watch a sports team, there's a guy that's just a supporting cast. That's what he does. That's the role he's going to play. There's a guy that is coming off the bench, and he does what he does. Then there's a guy that's the flag carrier to the best guy. Okay, each team's got a flag carrier in a lot of places. There was this player named Paul George. He runs a podcast with one of my good friend, Dudley Rutherford's son, Dallas. They do a very good job together, and they interview other basketball players. And he said something so powerful in one of the podcasts. He says, look, it took me years to realize I can't win a championship as a number one. He says, I've been the best player on a team. I can't win a championship as a number one. I can win a championship as a 2 and a 3, but I can't win as a 1. Guess what? He realized he has to be a flag carrier. He's not a 1. This week I had Ron DeSantis on the podcast. Governor Ron DeSantis, right. Should watch the whole thing because it's a pretty fiery podcast that
get to the end.
Caused...
you have so much content now that...
Well, and ended up causing the number 2 trending hashtag for 2 days.
Did you guys end up arguing? Because the part I saw, you guys were very cordial.
We didn't end up arguing, but I asked him a couple tough questions about marketing, his boots, and all this other stuff, and a video of him, Trump. Anyways, it was a bunch of different things we talked about. But when I'm talking to DeSantis, I asked him the following question. I said, I think there's 2 different types of presidents. And he says, what type? I said, one is alphas.
Yep.
Lincoln is the alpha. Ulysses S. Grant is the flag carrier. He became a 2-term president. Not a great president, but he was not an alpha. Okay, he needed Lincoln to be the flag carrier too. Ike, alpha. Nixon, he was a flag carrier. John F. Kennedy, alpha. LBJ took him out. He became president, allegedly. You got Reagan, alpha. Okay, senior is a flag carrier. You got Obama, alpha. Bill Clinton, alpha. Those 2 are alphas. Trump, alpha. George Bush the son, flag carrier, father, lineage, Prescott. Then you have Biden today. He's a flag carrier. His way of becoming a president was, Obama, you're the greatest, you're the best, you're this, you're that. Boom. This is your opportunity for being loyal to me. Now I will come work for you. You become the president, right? I asked Governor DeSantis, do you think you're the alpha or a flag carrier? Okay. Now his answer could be whatever he thinks it is, but the market's going to determine whether he's an alpha or he's a flag carrier.
What do you think? He said alpha. Well,
he said
technically
alpha.
He said I'm a leader.
And by the way, you may be an alpha in a room of 50. You may be an alpha in a company of 1,000. You may be the alpha in a company of 100,000. You may be the alpha in a state of 30 million, but you may not be the alpha in a country of 340 million. Alphas have levels, and it depends what level of an alpha you can be.
All right, so Chris, we listened to what he had to say. Being a leader in all facets of life. And I think a lot of people want to be a leader. They have to have self-leadership. And some people don't have that attribute. Is it something that you are given, or is it something you develop? I don't know. Is it a DNA thing? I feel that sometimes you're born into a situation, and let's say there's no father in the household and you become that leader. You become that. Or even if it's a girl, maybe they become the mother of that household if it's just the father. Whatever the leadership is, sometimes at a young age, you take on that role. And I think when you start to enhance, as far as leadership outside of just the household, now you're talking about business. Now you're talking about maybe going into a job, you're working for an employer, and you want to move up the chain and you show leadership or self-leadership. And I think that's what people are always striving for. Being an alpha to me, and we'll talk to you about this here in a second, of what he said. He's saying it's okay. There's leaders of the country that were, carrying the flag, and there's leaders that are just people that come in and they're just, right away, I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to, make stuff happen. And it's usually people that, I wouldn't say that are givers, but they don't take any crap, if you want to call it. Like, it's people that come in and they're just very assertive. They're people that come in and they have a direction of exactly what they want. And I would say they're going to step on anybody, but they're not going to take any alternate route. Now, there's some good and bad to that, but I think that's the traits that they're talking about as far as an alpha goes, or somebody that makes decisions. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Well, we'll just start with the first point, is that leadership, right? A leader is someone who can get people to move without force. So you can be assertive, but if no one is willing to move with you or follow your message or your path, then you're just someone that's an alpha male and really doesn't have any impact. That doesn't serve anything. So for me, at least, that's how I view that. So just squash that, because there's a lot of people who are assertive and they would so call themselves alpha. But what is your impact, right? And so we'll just use a couple examples. Like, a leader is not always assertive. There's a lot of people who can get people to move without force, that speak kindly, that speak with care, and that speak without feeling like I don't want to use the word aggression, but feel like they don't have to come over top of you and using an intimidation factor. So that's my first point on that. And you could tell me what you think.
Well, I think the world is lacking self-leadership today. I think that when you look at our world today and what people do, it's not about what you say, it's about what you do with your actions. And I think you can speak softly, like you said. It's not about coming in and rah, rah, rah. It's about, if you say you're going to do something, regardless if it's something that, you don't really want to do, that's taking leadership roles, right? If somebody's sick, like you said, and you got to take control and be that person that will come in and handle business and just say, look, this is part of life. You're going to have to make adjustments. That's one of them. How about the fact that, if the economy starts to slow down and income doesn't go up for people, and yet you still got to make adjustments and figure out a way. And I think leadership is in different layers. I think when you talk about being an alpha male, there's a difference between, I think, being a leader and alpha. An alpha is somebody, in my opinion, that comes in and it's kind of like my way or the highway. A lot of times they don't listen to reason. Sometimes they do, but I'm just saying a lot of times they don't. Where I think a leader is, you're going to assess everything around you and you're still going to listen to what others have to say. You still don't want to be that number one. You still have your goals and your motivation, but I think you have well-roundedness, that you're going to listen to somebody and at least listen to what their ideas are, maybe implement them, maybe not, but ultimately you're going to give everybody a chance. At the end of the day, though, you're still making the final decision. And I think that's what people look at. There's a lot of people that can't recognize if there's somebody that is just not a leader or takes the reins, or somebody that, comes into a situation and can just make decisions, and good or bad, you live with it and you move on, but it's always calculated decisions. I think that goes on, like I said, in the household. If you're trying to be run a business, definitely a business, there's no blueprint here that says anything. It's just educated decisions, and you keep the crusade going, and you got to keep that position, that it doesn't mean that you have to be that, I'm going to take advantage. Because, people always say nice people finish last. Givers don't get back in return what they give. There's a lot to that, right? But if going into it that that's not the role of what you're trying to do, you're trying to set an example. You're being a leader by saying, look, I have a way. Hopefully you follow my path, like you said. There's some merit to that, right?
Yeah, I think what you said in the very first response, you said that if you say you're going to do something, then do it. And self-leadership is actually what gains popularity with the acknowledgement from a role that you're trying to display. So for instance, let's just say you want to be a leader in your home, right? And if your wife and your kids or whoever is in your household don't see patterns or habits of you keeping to your word, well, no one's going to want to follow that. I can't imagine how anyone would want to follow that. So I think that's the first step, is self-leadership. And through self-leadership, what will happen is that people will want to follow you without force, because you're someone who keeps their word. You're someone who does what they say they're going to do. And ultimately, you're consistent. And so,
is it like, you know what, today it's just okay to be average, mediocrity? It's just okay to, go work a job and then just do a 9 to 5 and then live a very modest, very, I would say a lifestyle that's just very plain or very just, conservative? I mean, is that something that you're seeing more today with people?
Well, first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with wanting to, I don't want to say mediocre, but there's nothing wrong with somebody not wanting the spotlight. I agree with it. There's nothing wrong with that, right? I think a leader that's part of being a self-leadership, is being confident with that, not worrying about how many eyeballs are on you, and not worrying about how the spotlight is hung up on you. Like, you're self-confident and you can be confident and secure with what you're doing with your everyday life. And back to what you say about society, not owning that. And when you can't own that responsibility or that position of where you are currently, that's how you have where we have, right? What is it? Fear of missing out, stuff for the gram, TikTok, and everyone's trying to be up on the latest. Most people are trying to be up on what's new, and everyone is presenting like they have it figured out. And I don't think you ever have it figured out. I think you're always learning. You're always going in forward progress, and that's my response to that. I think that how can I word this? I think that there's right now today in society, they are giving excuses to people, right? And it starts with what is it? Pee Wee football, right? It's horrible that there's no score. So I think the truth needs to start coming back. Hey, if you suck at something or you're not good at something, there's nothing wrong with being told that you aren't good at that thing, right? And either you need to work on it to get better at it, or you'll decide that, hey, this thing that I'm trying to do, that's just not my strength. And I think that self-leadership is being a star in your role, what it is that you bring to win in any situation that you're in, and knowing when to step back. That's actually true leadership, stepping back and letting someone else be the star. So I think it starts from just right now, currently in today's society, starting from very early adolescent age, is that, you have to have a winner and you have to have a learner. We won't use loser. You have to have a winner and you have to have a learner, and not everybody can win. And if everyone can win, then no one can handle it when they feel like they have failed at something.
When I went into working with my job, there was people I went into the corporation to, and I was like, you know what? Why is this person doing so much? I don't want to put out names, but why are they doing so good? What makes them different? And there's certain things that people have, like I said, that different attributes that people bring to the table. One is better at sales and being out there and shaking hands and kissing babies. Some people are better at paperwork or making sure that internal things, systems are going well. And then some people are just technologically smart about whatever area that they're in. But when you talk about people that are leaders, I feel you have an idea of all of those things and recognizing that you can't be all those things. There's going to be rock stars and people that are a lot better than you at those things, and you do what you do well, and then you get people around you that's going to enhance that if you can't come up to that. It's very, very, I would say less frequent, or it's very rare that you find somebody that has all of those attributes of being the leader, the salesman, the technological person behind the scenes. That's why when you have corporations, different people run different facets of the corporation.